The silent sky, the vast expanse of space, was a canvas of endless stars, planets, and mysteries. Aboard the human flagship HMS Endeavour, Captain Elena Sinclair stood on the bridge, her piercing green eyes fixed on the display screen. The room was filled with the quiet hum of machinery and the occasional murmur from the crew. Humanity had ventured far into the cosmos, but today was unlike any other day. Today, they had discovered something that would change everything. "Captain, you'll want to see this," Lieutenant Raj Patel, the ship's science officer, said from his station. His voice carried a mixture of awe and trepidation. Elena walked briskly to his side, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The screen displayed an alien vessel, a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. Its design defied human logic, with sleek curves and shimmering surfaces that seemed to absorb and refract light simultaneously. "It appeared out of nowhere," Raj continued. "One moment, the sensors were clear, and the next, this thing just materialized." The bridge fell silent as everyone turned their attention to the main display. The alien ship was massive, dwarfing even the HMS Endeavour, humanity's pride and joy. Elena's heartbeat quickened. This was it, the first confirmed contact with intelligent alien life. For centuries, humanity had dreamed of this moment, but now that it was here, the uncertainty was palpable. "Open a channel," Elena ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Let's introduce ourselves." The communications officer, Ensign Mia Torres, nodded and began broadcasting a standard first contact message. "This is Captain Elena Sinclair of the HMS Endeavour. We come in peace and seek to establish communication with your people." The message was repeated in multiple frequencies and languages. Seconds turned into minutes, and still there was no response. The alien ship remained motionless, an enigmatic presence in the vastness of space. "Captain," Raj said, his tone now more urgent, "I'm detecting an energy buildup on their ship. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." Elena's jaw tightened. "Defensive measures, racer shields that hold fire. We don't want to provoke them." As the crew scrambled to comply, a beam of light erupted from the alien ship, engulfing the Endeavour. The bridge was bathed in a dazzling glow, and the ship's systems flickered but remained stable. "Shields are holding," reported Lieutenant Commander Naomi Harker, the tactical officer. "No damage detected." "It's a scan," Raj concluded. "They're analyzing us." Elena exhaled slowly, her mind racing. The alien ship wasn't attacking, it was observing. That was a good sign. Or was it? Before she could formulate a response, a voice echoed through the bridge. It wasn't transmitted through their communication systems, but resonated directly in their minds. "Humans," the voice said. It was deep and resonant, carrying an air of authority and ancient wisdom. "We are the virus collective. You have ventured far, yet you remain ignorant of the dangers that lie beyond your reach." Elena straightened, her resolve hardening. "We are not ignorant. We are explorers, seeking knowledge and understanding. If you're willing to talk, we're willing to listen." The voice seemed to pause, as if considering her words. "Your species is unusual, primitive yet ambitious, peaceful yet capable of great destruction. Why should we trust you?" Elena's lips pressed into a thin line. She knew the weight of her next words could determine humanity's fate. "Because we are more than our past. Yes, we have made mistakes, but we've also achieved incredible things. We value life, knowledge, and cooperation. If you're looking for a reason to trust us, let it be this. We are willing to learn. Are you?" The bridge was silent as everyone held their breath, waiting for the alien's response. Finally, the voice spoke again, its tone less imposing and more curious. "Perhaps there is merit in your words. We will observe, we will test, and we will decide if your species is worthy of coexistence." Before Elena could reply, the alien ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. The bridge was thrown into a frenzy of activity as the crew scrambled to make sense of what had just happened. "Captain," Raj said, his voice trembling slightly, "this is only the beginning. Whatever they are, they're far beyond us." Elena nodded, her expression unreadable. "Then we'll have to rise to the challenge, set a course back to Earth. We need to report this immediately." As the Endeavour began its journey home, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just stepped into a much larger and more dangerous galaxy. The virus had promised to observe and test them, but what would those tests entail? And could humanity survive them? Her thoughts were interrupted by a message from the ship's AI, Athena. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth. Command is requesting a full debrief." Elena took a deep breath and straightened her uniform. "Let's not keep them waiting. Open the channel." The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer a question of if, but when, and Elena Sinclair would do everything in her power to ensure that when the time came, they would be ready. The gathering storm. The HSS Endeavour cruised steadily through the void, its engines humming with a low, steady rhythm. The crew was silent, the tension from their encounter with the virus still weighing heavily on everyone's minds. Captain Elena Sinclair sat in her quarters, staring at the holographic report from Earth Command. The words on the screen were stark and unyielding. "Proceed with extreme caution. The virus collective may represent an existential threat." Elena leaned back, running a hand through her short auburn hair. Earth Command's response was predictable, but it offered no real guidance. Humanity had never encountered a species like the virus before. How do you prepare for something you barely understand? A chime sounded, pulling Elena from her thoughts. "Come in," she said. Lieutenant Commander Naomi Harker stepped through the door. Her sharp features were etched with concern. "Captain, I thought you should know. We've detected something on long-range sensors. Multiple signatures heading straight for us." Elena stood immediately. "What kind of signatures?" "Unclear," Naomi replied, handing her a datapad. "But they're moving in formation. It's deliberate." Elena's mind raced as she reviewed the data. How far out? Approximately 4 hours at their current speed. "Alert the crew. I'll be on the bridge in 5. The bridge was a hive of activity when Elena arrived. The view screen displayed the black void of space, with faint blips marking the incoming signatures. Elena's sharp gaze swept over her crew as she took her place in the captain's chair. "Report," she commanded. Raj Patel, the science officer, spoke up. "Captain, the signatures are still unidentified, but they're unlike anything we've seen. Their energy readings suggest advanced propulsion systems, far beyond our capabilities." "Any communication at Tense?" Elena asked. Ensign Mia Torres nodded. "We've been broadcasting standard greeting protocols, but no response so far." "Race shields," Elena ordered. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers, but don't make any aggressive moves unless absolutely necessary." As the crew carried out her orders, Elena felt the weight of the situation settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about the HSS Endeavour. It was about humanity's future. A first contact could lead to alliances or annihilation. 3 hours later, the alien fleet came into visual range. The bridge fell silent as the ships appeared on the main display. They were enormous, sleek vessels, their surfaces shimmering with an iridescent glow. Each ship was unique, yet they moved in perfect harmony, like a school of fish in the deep ocean. "Captain," Raj said, his voice tight, "these ships match the energy signatures of the virus vessel we encountered earlier." Elena's jaw tightened. "So this is a follow-up." The ships stopped at a distance, maintaining a formidable formation. Then, without warning, the voice returned, once again bypassing their communication systems and resonating directly in their minds. "Humans," it said, the tone calm but commanding. "You have been observed. Now you will be tested. Your actions will determine your fate." Elena stood, her voice firm. "What kind of test?" "We've made it clear we seek peace. There's no need for conflict. The voice seemed to carry a hint of amusement. Peace is a concept you claim, yet your history tells another story. We'll determine if your words hold truth. Prepare yourselves. Before Elena could respond, a blinding flash of light filled the bridge. The ship's alarms blared as the HSS Endeavour was engulfed in an energy field. The bridge crew scrambled to their stations as the ship's systems flickered. "Status report," Elena shouted. Naomi Harker's fingers flew across her console. "Shields are intact, but we're being pulled into some kind of anomaly. It's a controlled event. They're directing us somewhere." "Raj, analysis," Elena demanded. Raj's eyes were wide as he scanned the data. "It's a dimensional rift, Captain. They're forcing us into another region of space." Elena clenched her fists. The virus weren't playing games. They were demonstrating their power. "Brace for impact. Maintain all systems on high alert." When the ship emerged from the anomaly, the bridge's view screen revealed a startling sight. The HSS Endeavour was now in orbit around a massive, artificial structure. It was a gargantuan ring, spinning slowly against the backdrop of a foreign star system. The structure's surface was covered in intricate designs, glowing with an ethereal light. "Captain," Raj said, his voice trembling, "this structure is ancient. I'm detecting energy readings that suggest it's millions of years old." Before Elena could respond, the voice returned. "This is the Crucible, a relic of the old ones. It has tested countless civilizations. Now it will test yours. Succeed, and you will earn our respect. Fail, and your species will not survive." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of test? The voice ignored her question. "You have one standard rotation of your planet to complete the trial. Begin." As the presence faded, the crew erupted into frantic activity. Elena stood at the center of the chaos, her mind racing. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. "Raj, Naomi, Mia," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "We need answers. Find out everything you can about this crucible. We'll figure this out together." The crew nodded, their determination mirroring Elena's own. Whatever this test entailed, they would face it head-on. Humanity had always thrived under pressure, and Elena was determined to prove that their resilience was more than a historical footnote. The HSS Endeavour moved closer to the Crucible, its crew readying themselves for the unknown. Somewhere deep inside the alien structure, a challenge awaited, a trial that would determine the fate of Earth itself. The Crucible's challenge. The HSS Endeavour drifted silently toward the massive alien structure known as the Crucible, its gleaming surface reflecting the light of a distant foreign star. Inside the ship, the crew worked with a mix of urgency and apprehension, their every action driven by the weight of humanity's survival. The alien voice's words echoed in Captain Elena Sinclair's mind as she paced the bridge. "This is the Crucible. Succeed, and you will earn our respect. Fail, and your species will not survive." Elena stopped near the science console, where Lieutenant Raj Patel was analyzing the structure. The holographic display of his station projected a rotating image of the Crucible, its intricate patterns pulsating with faint energy signatures. "What do we know, Lieutenant?" Elena asked. Raj wiped a bead of sweat from his brow. "The Crucible is ancient, Captain. Its energy readings suggest technology far beyond anything we've encountered. I've detected several entry points, but they seem to shift unpredictably. The patterns might be some kind of code." "Can we decode it?" Elena pressed. Raj hesitated. "Possibly, but it would take time. Time we don't have. We've got less than 24 hours, and that's assuming nothing else happens." "Captain," interrupted Ensign Mia Torres from the communications console, "I've picked up something. It's faint, but there's a repeating signal coming from the Crucible. It might be a message." Elena stepped over to Mia's station. "Let's hear it." The bridge fell silent as Mia patched the signal through. A series of tones played, strange and melodic, like an alien symphony. The tones repeated, their rhythm and frequency changing subtly with each cycle. Rage's eyes widened. It's not just a message, it's an algorithm. I think it's part of the test. Elena nodded. Can you decipher it? Raj frowned. I can try, but I'll need help. This isn't just mathematics. It's encoded in a way that suggests a deeper understanding of physics, philosophy, and even language. We're dealing with something that transcends what we know. Then get started, Elena said. Bring in anyone you need. While Rage and his team worked on decoding the signal, the crucible stirred. On the main view screen, the structure began to shift, its rings rotating at varying speeds. The glowing patterns brightened, casting a surreal light across the bridge. Captain, said Naomi Harker, the tactical officer, we've got movement. The crucible's energy levels are spiking. What kind of movement? Elena asked, her voice calm but firm. Something's emerging, Naomi replied, pointing to the display. The crew watched as a smaller structure detached itself from the crucible and floated toward the HSS Endeavour. It was a geometric marvel, composed of interlocking tetrahedrons that shimmered with an otherworldly hue. Is it a weapon? Elena asked. Naomi shook her head. No indications of hostile intent. It's more like a probe. Captain, Raj called out, this could be part of the test. The probe might be a delivery system for information, or a challenge in itself. Elena nodded. Bring it aboard, Naomi. Coordinate with the hangar team. Let's find out what we're dealing with. In the ship's hangar, the probe hovered silently in the containment field. A team of engineers and scientists surrounded it, their instruments scanning every inch of its intricate surface. Raj stood at the forefront, his expression a mix of awe and determination. It's like nothing we've ever seen, he said as Elena approached. The material isn't in our periodic table, and the energy it's emitting is stable but highly concentrated. I believe this probe is designed to test our problem-solving abilities. How do we interact with it? Elena asked. Raj gestured to a set of glowing symbols that had appeared on the probe's surface. These symbols seem to react to touch. I think it's some kind of interactive puzzle, but the patterns are incredibly complex. Solving it might unlock the next phase of the test. Then let's get to work, Elena said. We've got a clock ticking. For hours, the crew worked tirelessly to decipher the probe's puzzles. Each interaction revealed new layers of complexity, challenging their understanding of logic, mathematics, and abstract thinking. The probe seemed to adapt to their efforts, presenting increasingly difficult challenges as they progressed. At one point, the symbols began to project holographic images, scenes from human history. The crew watched in silence as images of war and conflict played out before them, interspersed with moments of unity and triumph. They're studying us, Raj said softly. They're testing not just our intelligence, but our morality, our capacity for growth and understanding. Elena's eyes narrowed. Then we need to show them the best of what humanity can be. As the final layer of the puzzle unfolded, the probe emitted a low hum, and the symbols began to shift rapidly. Raid's team scrambled to keep up, their minds racing to solve the last sequence. Captain, Raj said, his voice strained, this last step isn't just about solving a problem, it's a choice. Elena stepped forward. What kind of choice? Raj pointed to the symbols, now displaying two distinct patterns. One sequence represents a path of cooperation and unity. The other, a path of dominance and control. It's asking us to choose which path humanity values more. Elena stared at the symbols, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on her. This wasn't just a test of intelligence, it was a test of character. Humanity has made mistakes, she said, her voice steady. But we've always found a way to rise above them. We choose cooperation. She pressed a symbol for unity, and the probe responded with a burst of light. The hangar was filled with a resonant tone, and the probe's surface began to shift, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a single glowing sphere. What is it? Elena asked. Rage approached cautiously. It's a data core. I think it contains the key to the next phase. Elena nodded. Let's take it to the bridge. The crucible isn't done with us yet. As the HSS Endeavour resumed its position near the crucible, the sphere was placed in the ship's analysis chamber. The moment it connected to the ship's systems, the alien voice returned. You have chosen well, it said. The path of unity is difficult but rewarding. Your journey is far from over. Prepare for the next challenge. The crucible began to glow brighter, its rings accelerating. Elena stood on the bridge, her resolve unwavering. Whatever comes next, she said, we face it together. The crew nodded, their determination renewed. The crucible's challenge had only just begun, but Elena was ready. Humanity would prove its worth, no matter the cost. A maze of stars. The HSS Endeavour floated silently in the shadow of the crucible, the alien structure looming like a sentinel of ancient wisdom and power. On the bridge, Captain Elena Sinclair stood with her arms crossed, her sharp green eyes fixed on the glowing rings that now rotated faster than before. The alien voice's cryptic declaration still echoed in her mind. Prepare for the next challenge. Raj Patel worked feverishly at his station, his console alive with streams of data from the crucible's energy fluctuations. Lieutenant Commander Naomi Harker stood by the tactical display, ready for anything, while Ensign Mia Torres monitored communication channels for signs of further contact. Raj, Elena called, her voice calm but commanding. What's happening out there? Raj glanced up briefly, his face pale but determined. The crucible's energy output is escalating. It's generating a massive spatial distortion. I believe it's forming some kind of artificial environment. What kind of environment? Naomi asked, her tone edged with suspicion. Reg hesitated, then gestured to the holographic projection above his console. It showed a labyrinthine network of glowing corridors, each pathway pulsating with energy. It's a maze, he said simply. A maze of stars. Moments later, the crucible emitted a sudden burst of light, and the Endeavour trembled. The main view screen flickered, replaced by an image of the alien labyrinth. The ship was no longer outside the crucible, it was inside. Status report, Elena barked. Naomi's hands flew over her console. Shields are intact. No structural damage, but we're in a completely different space. The crucible must have transported us here. Rage's voice was urgent. Captain, this isn't just a physical maze. The structure is manipulating space-time. The pathways are constantly shifting. Elena nodded, her mind racing. Suggestions. Raj took a deep breath. We'll need to navigate the maze to reach the center. I believe that's where the next phase of the test lies. But the crucible isn't going to make it easy. Every turn could bring new challenges. Elena turned to her crew, her voice steady. We've faced the unknown before, and we've always come out stronger. Let's show the crucible what humanity is made of. Helm, plot the best course forward. As the Endeavour moved into the labyrinth, the ship's scanners struggled to keep up with the constantly shifting pathways. Glowing corridors of energy twisted and turned unpredictably, forcing the crew to rely on instinct and ingenuity. Captain, Naomi said, her voice tense, we're not alone. On the view screen, several small, spherical drones appeared. They moved with unsettling precision, their surfaces reflecting the light of the maze. Each drone was armed with energy weapons, their intent unmistakable. Hostile entities incoming, Naomi reported. Evasive maneuvers, Elena ordered. Naomi, target and neutralize. The drones swarmed toward the Endeavour, their weapons firing bursts of concentrated energy. The ship's shields absorbed the initial hits, but the relentless assault began to strain their defenses. Naomi's tactical systems came alive as the Endeavour returned fire. Precision laser blasts struck the drones, destroying several in rapid succession. But the drones adapted quickly, their movements becoming more erratic and unpredictable. Raj, can we disrupt their coordination? Elena asked. Rage's fingers flew across his console. Working on it. The drones are linked to the maze's energy network. If I can generate an interference signal. Do it, Elena said. Moments later, Rage's interference signal pulsed through the maze. The drones faltered, their movements becoming disjointed. Naomi seized the opportunity, targeting the remaining drones and eliminating them. Drones neutralized, Naomi reported. Good work, Elena said. Raj, keep monitoring for more threats. Let's keep moving. As the Endeavour ventured deeper into the maze, the challenges became more complex. The pathways twisted into impossible configurations, defying the laws of physics. At one point, the ship had to navigate through a series of narrow corridors filled with gravitational distortions that threatened to tear it apart. Ray's expertise was invaluable, his calculations guiding the ship safely through the hazards. But the crew's morale was tested as the maze seemed to stretch on endlessly, its ever-shifting corridors a constant reminder of the Crucible's power. Then, without warning, the ship came to a sudden stop. The maze's pathways ahead dissolved into a swirling vortex of light and shadow. Captain, Raj said, his voice uneasy, this isn't a pathway. It's a gateway, another layer of the test. What's on the other side? Elena asked. Raj shook his head. There's no way to know until we go through. Elena's gaze swept across her crew. They were tired but resolute. Whatever lay beyond the gateway, they would face it together. Take us through, Elena ordered. As the Endeavour entered the vortex, the bridge was flooded with an intense light. The ship shuddered, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then the light faded, and the view screen revealed a new environment, a massive, spherical chamber at the heart of the Crucible. The chamber's walls were covered in glowing symbols, each pulsating with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. In the center of the chamber floated a massive crystal, its surface radiating an otherworldly energy. Captain, Raj said, his voice filled with awe, we've reached the core of the Crucible. Before Elena could respond, the alien voice returned, resonating through the bridge. You have navigated the maze and demonstrated resilience. Now, you must confront the heart of the Crucible. Only then will your species' worth be revealed. Elena's jaw tightened. What does that mean? What do we need to do? The voice offered no further explanation. Instead, the symbols on the chamber walls began to shift, forming a new sequence. Ray's console lit up with data, the patterns more intricate than anything they'd seen before. It's another puzzle, Raj said. But this one, it's different. It's not just logic or intelligence. It's testing something deeper. Elena stepped forward, her eyes locked on the glowing crystal. She could feel the weight of the test pressing down on her. The Crucible wasn't just evaluating humanity's capabilities, it was probing their very essence. Whatever it takes, she said softly, her voice filled with resolve, we'll prove that humanity is worth fighting for. The crew nodded, their determination unwavering. The final challenge of the Crucible lay before them, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The heart of the Crucible. The HSS Endeavour hovered in the colossal spherical chamber at the heart of the Crucible. The vast space felt alive, humming with an energy that pulsed in time with the glowing crystal suspended in its center. Captain Elena Sinclair stood on the bridge, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. Her crew's eyes were fixed on the view screen, the tension thick in the air. The alien voice that had guided and taunted them thus far spoke again, its tone resonant and cryptic. You have arrived at the Crucible's core. This final trial is not one of intellect or force. It is a test of identity. To proceed, you must confront the essence of what your species is and what it aspires to be. Elena frowned. What does that mean? She muttered, more to herself than anyone else. She turned to her science officer, Lieutenant Raj Patel. Raj, give me options. What are we looking at? Raj's hands moved swiftly over his console, his face lit by the glow of his screens. Captain, the crystal is emitting energy on multiple frequencies, physical, mental, and even emotional. It's interacting with us, probing our intentions. I believe it's analyzing not just our actions but our motivations. Fantastic, Elena said dryly. How do we prove ourselves to a sentient crystal? The chamber's challenge. The walls of the chamber began to shift. Symbols flickered and rearranged themselves, forming intricate patterns. The crystal brightened, and a sudden wave of energy swept through the Endeavor. The ship's systems flickered, and the bridge lights dimmed. Report, Elena barked. Shields are holding, but the energy field is interfering with internal systems, Lieutenant Commander Naomi Harker said. It's like the Crucible is testing the ship as much as it's testing us. Rage's voice cut through the tension. Captain, the symbols on the walls, that are forming a sequence. I think it's a language, but not one we've encountered before. It's layered, almost alive. Elena leaned over his console, studying the shifting symbols. Can you translate it? Raj hesitated. Not entirely, but I can make out fragments. It's asking a question. No, it's presenting a choice. What kind of choice? Elena asked sharply. Raj gestured to the display, where two distinct patterns had emerged. One glowed with a soft, golden light, radiating warmth and harmony. The other was darker, pulsating with raw, chaotic energy. I think the Crucible is asking us to choose between two paths. One represents unity and cooperation, the other, power and dominance. Elena's jaw tightened. They want to know what kind of species we are. The crew's debate. Elena turned to her crew. All right, team. Let's hear it. What do we choose? Naomi was the first to speak. Captain, we've faced too many hostile forces out here to be naive. Power ensures survival. If we show weakness, we might not get a second chance. Rage countered immediately. And if we choose power, we're playing into their fears about humanity, that we're dangerous, unpredictable. Unity shows growth, evolution. It proves we're more than our history of conflict. Assuming the Crucible isn't baiting us, Naomi shot back. What if they want us to reject unity as a sign of strength? The room fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on them. Elena looked around, meeting each crew member's gaze. They were tired, uncertain, but still resolute. The choice wasn't just about survival, it was about defining humanity's future. Confronting the crystal, Elena approached the ship's main console. Mia, patch me through to the Crucible's core. The communications officer nodded, and a faint chime signaled the link. Elena stood tall, her voice clear and steady. Crucible, you asked us to confront our essence. Humanity is flawed, yes, but our strength lies in our ability to learn and grow. We choose unity, not because it's easy, but because it's right. As her words echoed through the chamber, the golden pattern on the walls brightened. The crystal pulsed once, twice, and then unleashed a brilliant wave of light. The ship trembled as the energy washed over it. Captain, Raj said, his voice filled with awe, the Crucible is responding. It's recalibrating. What does that mean? Elena asked. Raj's console beeped, and his eyes widened. I think it's acknowledging our choice. But there's more. Before he could finish, the chamber changed again. The glowing symbols dissolved, and the crystal split into 3 smaller shards, each radiating a distinct hue: gold, silver, and violet. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the bridge, depicting a massive network of star systems. This, the alien voice said, returning with a tone of unmistakable gravitas, is the galactic web, the interconnected lifeblood of countless civilizations. Your choice has granted you access, but access is not trust. Trust must be earned. The warning. The projection zoomed in on a distant region of space, where a dark, shifting mass writhed like a living shadow. The crew stared in silence as the alien voice continued. This is the abyssal veil, a force that has consumed entire civilizations. It is the ultimate test, the crucible of survival. Your species has chosen the path of unity, But unity is meaningless without strength. You will face the veil, and only then will you prove your worth. Naomi frowned. So they're throwing us into a war zone. Elena's expression hardened. No, they're giving us a chance to prove we belong. Raid's console beeped again. Captain, the Crucible is transferring data to our systems. It's maps, technology, and energy schematics. They're arming us for the challenge. Elena's lips curved into a determined smile. Then we'll rise to the occasion. Set a course for the abyssal veil. The journey ahead. As the Endeavour exited the Crucible, its crew felt a mix of relief and anticipation. They had passed the Crucible's tests, but the greatest challenge lay ahead. The abyssal veil loomed as both a threat and an opportunity, a chance to prove that humanity could stand among the stars not as conquerors, but as partners in the great galactic web. Elena stood at the center of the bridge, her voice carrying across the room. We've been tested, and we've chosen our path. Now we fight, not just for ourselves, but for the future of humanity. The crew erupted into applause, their resolve unshaken. As the Endeavour powered toward the unknown, Elena allowed herself a brief moment of hope. They had survived the Crucible, and they would face whatever came next, with unity, strength, and the unyielding spirit of humanity.